For a character whose two main traits are he is green and he likes to smash things, the Hulk is a surprisingly complicated figure once you get to know him. Not only are there roughly a million different Hulks to sort amongst, there's also a bunch of recent comics that have massively changed the character, meaning if you haven't kept up to date, you're likely to get lost trying to figure out what is and isn't considered canon for the big green guy. Even without all the recent events around the Hulk and his return from the dead after Civil War II, there's still a whole lot about him that can be misunderstood or misremembered really easily. For example, the fact that the Hulk, not Bruce, I mean the Hulk, has one of the most successful romantic histories of Marvel Comics is the fact that many people don't remember, presumably because they've repressed it as deep down as possible. While knowing that the Hulk is a renowned seducer of babes is not crucial to understanding him as a character, every little helps, and also makes him that little bit more than just a one-dimensional rage machine. So, with all this said, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture Comics, and here are 10 things everyone always gets wrong about the Hulk. Number 10. There's only one Hulk. One of the most crucial details when reading anything involving Bruce Banner and his alter ego is knowing that he is not the only Hulk to exist in the Marvel Universe. Firstly, Banner isn't the only person to have been exposed to gamma radiation, meaning that there are several other Hulks of varying shapes, colors, and genders roaming the lands. Secondly, even if folks like General Ross and Amadeus Cho weren't also Hulks, Bruce's own fractured psyche means that there is more than just one Hulk lying around in his head. In fact, the one that is most familiar to us, the Savage Hulk, named for his rage, is one of roughly a dozen alter egos that Banner has stored away in his mind. While the Savage Hulk becomes just the Hulk for ease of reference in the comics, he is by no means the only one, which is well worth remembering so the assorted cast of colourful bodybuilders don't leave you scratching your head every time you see him. Number 9. The Hulk is uncontrollable. Given the Hulk is basically the poster boy for uncontrollable alter egos, it's kind of surreal to learn that, actually, he might be significantly more restrained by Banner than many of us have previously thought. Because it's not that the Hulk is legitimately uncontrollable, it's that Banner's influence on the Beast has, much of the time, gone overlooked. This is best shown in Incredible Hulk Volume 2, number 110, where Amadeus Cho reveals that the Beast has been actively pulling his punches to avoid killing those that he fights, and to minimize civilian casualties. Cho then proves his theory by goading the Hulk into killing him, which the Goliath staunchly refuses to do, showing that Banner's morality is instilled in his neon green brethren. Number 8. He can actually be killed. Were you not to know that the Hulk is basically immortal, you'd be easily forgiven, because until the Immortal Hulk series came around, the idea had been suggested but never officially confirmed. Then it was explicitly shown that the Hulk's powers could revive Banner from the dead, and suddenly everything felt very different. Not only did it finally make sense how Banner had come back from being shot dead in Civil War II, by Hawkeye, yikes, this immortality also retroactively supported all the timelines in which the Hulk is alive centuries in the future, making it arguably one of the most important comic reveals in recent history. While it had been a popular point of speculation for many years prior, having the Hulk's immortality made concrete was the perfect way to bring him back from the dead. This said, it's also sure to prove confusing for countless fans, as anyone who misses out on the Immortal Hulk series is sure to be more than a little surprised when the character they last saw being buried rocks up alive and well. Number 7. He's only had one love interest. One of the weirdest things about the Hulk, a thing that goes against every rational assumption you could make, is that he is incredibly popular with women in the Marvel Universe. Like, incredibly popular. Popular enough that, whatever success rate you think the Hulk has attracting partners, you need to double it. And even then you'll be underestimating the sheer seductive power of the apparently erotic green giant. To be fair, Banner's long-term romance with love interest Betty Ross is likely the reason this flies so far under the radar for many fans. After all, any comic revolving around Banner and Betty being married naturally skirts around the touchy subject of the Hulk's seemingly unquenchable thirst for babes. Is giving the Hulk a harem a really weird thing that many storylines do? Yes, but it's also hilarious, so the Jolly Green Giant gets a free pass on this one with the sheer fact it places the phrase Hulk smash into a whole other context. Number 6. He's dumb. While the Hulk is commonly characterized as perhaps not Marvel's brightest character, believing he is genuinely dumb avoids an important fact. The creature is pretty much continually freaking out whenever we see him. Think about it from the Hulk's perspective. He's only properly allowed out when Banner panics or gets incredibly mad, and that generally means that someone is trying to kill the pair of them. The Hulk knows he isn't going to be let out for a beach holiday and a pina colada, and so he's in a permanent fight or flight mode whenever we see him, meaning that he's far more focused on things like staying alive and not being brutally murdered than speaking in full sentences like an eloquent master of literature. Sure, the Savage Hulk isn't going to be writing any great works of philosophy anytime soon, but it's worth noting that every time we see a more coherent version of the irradiated beast, it's either because he's allowed more time in the outside world, or because he's not in immediate danger. All this in mind, our green friend might be more intelligent than we give him credit for, even if he's not going to be a lawyer anytime soon. Number 5. He's totally separate to Bruce Banner. It's often thought that, aside from sharing the same body, Bruce Banner and the Hulk are totally separate entities. While this isn't completely wrong, as they have separate personalities and motivations, it's undeniable that the Savage Hulk is a product of Banner's fractured psyche and traumatic childhood, meaning that they are basically two sides of the same coin. While the pair can be split up physically, as is the case in the Fear Itself and Totally Awesome Hulk storylines, they can't be split mentally, as even the Hulk's hatred of Banner can be attributed to the self-hatred the scientist is repeatedly shown to feel for himself. They can be physically separated, but the pair will always be mentally linked, albeit to their mutual annoyance. This is also why every Hulk form within Banner's psyche relates to him and his life experiences in some way or another, because in the end, they're all just parts of Banner. Just, the superpowered irradiated parts. Number 4, his only power is super strength. Almost every time you see the Hulk in a fight, you're sure to get a dose of good old-fashioned violence. With the big ball of muscles and anger mainly just using his immense strength to fight his battles, it seemed for a long time that this was his only real power. But as it turns out, there is much more to the gamma-radiated behemoth than merely super strength. Not only have several comics shown that the Hulk's split personalities provide him resistance to telepathic powers, but it's also been revealed that he can survive underwater and in space, which are two notably useful abilities that go almost entirely overlooked. Finally, although the Hulk constantly emitting gamma radiation is often made out to be a weakness, it can also be considered a strength, as there are a few characters in the Marvel Universe who couldn't be easily defeated by a healthy dose of radiation. Bit grim, but true all the same, I guess. Number 3. He has a bad rogues gallery. For just about every major Marvel hero, there is at least one villain that you automatically associate with them. Thor has Loki, Iron Man has the Mandarin, and Captain America has the Red Skull. For our menacing green friend, however, this isn't as easy. While most folk knew General Ross as Banner's arch nemesis, he's not really a villain anymore, and thus for many the list of interesting Hulk enemies has run decisively dry. But just because many of the Hulk's enemies are less well known doesn't mean they're not interesting, or that the Goliath's rogues gallery is poor. Indeed, Immortal Hulk has gone some way to change these misconceptions, as it shows the suitably nightmarish and badass potential of villains like the Abomination, Tanarak, and many other relatively unknown beasts and baddies. While Banner and his hulking alter ego will likely never have Marvel's most famous rogues gallery, this isn't because they're bad or boring villains, it's because they're relatively obscure when compared to figures like the Joker or Doctor Doom. Number 2. He's bloodthirsty. Anyone who's paid attention to the Hulk's time in comics over the years is aware that he's been responsible for some pretty gruesome things. Tearing Wolverine in two, eating an invading alien captain, displaying his butt cheeks in Thor Ragnarok, the list is nigh endless. However, this violence doesn't mean that the Emerald Monster is inherently violent. It's something that's easy to ignore when he's screaming Hulk smash at anyone who opposes him, but Banner's green alter ego only takes to violence because he feels threatened. And since the Jolly Giant has the mentality of an abused child, he's quick to assume that the world's out to get him. There are versions of the Hulk that are genuinely violent, sure, but as far as our regular Hulk goes, his violence is largely motivated by an unwavering desire to not be messed with, and that's frankly hard to disagree with. And number 1, he's always green. Hearing that the Hulk wasn't initially green is something plenty of fans struggle to wrap their head around. After all, with so many years of the most controversial Avenger being a bright, unavoidable green mess, it seems unfathomable that when the character was initially created, he was actually intended to be grey. And intended is very much the key word here, as while the Hulk was supposed to be grey, a printing error for the first issue in that many copies of the Giant coloured a distinctly green hue, closer to the design we know today. Realising that this colour actually suited the character more, and likely not wanting to recall the misprinted comics and lose money, it was decided that the hero should be green instead, which remains the case to this day. In a smart recovery, Marvel would also later incorporate the Grey Hulk into the universe by having him be another identity locked away in Banner's psyche, which would allow any previous appearances of the Jolly Grey Giant to actually still be canon in the universe. And that was our video on 10 things everyone tends to get wrong about the Hulk. Shout out your own suggestions in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and spread the word about What Culture Comics whenever you can. Shout out to Zoe Miss Kelly for putting together such a thick Hulk list, so please be sure to go check her out on Twitter at ZenMiskel, and shout out to me for artfully relaying their words to you all here. That's all though. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!